The year is 1945. The sky is the color of slate. The once great medieval spires of Nuremberg now lie in piles of red sandstone rubble, their intricate carvings lost to the unforgiving physics of gravity and destruction. A profound silence hangs heavy over the city, a quiet so deep it feels like the world is holding its breath. This stillness is broken only by the sharp singular sound of a gavel striking wood, a sound that emanates from a single surviving courtroom, echoing through the empty skeletal remains of what was once a vibrant metropolis. Here, in the ruins, something new is beginning, a process of reckoning that the world has never before attempted. For centuries, this was not a place of judgment but of treasure. Nuremberg was known as the unofficial capital of the Holy Roman Empire. The *Schatzkistlein*, the little treasure chest. It was a city where the romantic spirit of medieval Germany was not just preserved but celebrated in every half-timbered house and cobblestone alley. Imagine the workshops of clockmakers, their hands steady as they assembled intricate gears and springs, creating timepieces that were marvels of both science and art. Think of the artists, like the great Albrecht Dürer, who sketched the world with a new breathtaking realism, his studio filled with the scent of linseed oil and drying ink. In winter, the city transformed into a fairy tale, its Christmas market, the Christkindlesmarkt, filling the cold air with the warm, inviting aromas of gingerbread, roasted almonds, and spiced wine. It was a city built on creativity, on craftsmanship, on the delicate and the beautiful. Yet there is a haunting, almost surreal fact nestled within this idyllic history, a piece of information that feels like a dark and twisted joke played by fate. Before Nuremberg's name became irrevocably linked with the darkest chapters of the 20th century, before the massive rallies and the chilling decrees that bore its name, it was famous for something entirely different, something innocent and joyful. For generations, Nuremberg was the undisputed toy capital of the world. Its factories and workshops produced an endless stream of dolls with porcelain faces, meticulously painted wooden soldiers, miniature train sets, and intricate tin toys that were shipped to children across the globe. It is a profound and unsettling irony that this city, which once filled the world's nurseries with objects of play and imagination, would become the very stage where the world's most serious and terrible games of power were brought to an end, where the architects of war were called to account for their crimes. The city of dolls and wooden soldiers became the setting for the trial of the century, a place where childish things were put away forever. Visually, the city today is a palimpsest, a manuscript on which history has been written, erased, and written over again. Look up and you see the towering Kaiserberg, the imperial castle, its ancient stone walls sitting majestically above the morning fog that often blankets the city below. For 1,000 years, it has stood as a silent sentinel, watching emperors come and go, witnessing both golden ages and the deepest despair. From its ramparts, the city spreads out, a mixture of restored medieval beauty and the clean, functional lines of post-war reconstruction. Now, travel to the city's edge, to a place that feels like a modern ruin. Here stand the eerie, empty stone columns of the Zeppelin Field, the vast parade grounds designed by Albrecht Dürer, the monumental tribune, where a dictator once addressed hundreds of thousands, is now being reclaimed by nature. Grass pushes up through the cracks in the stone steps, and wildflowers bloom where disciplined armies once marched. The sheer scale of it is still intimidating, a ghost of an ideology left to crumble under the slow, patient pressure of sun and rain. Then, we move inside, into the claustrophobic confines of Courtroom 600. The room is surprisingly small, paneled in dark wood that seems to absorb both light and sound. You can almost feel the weight of the words spoken here, the testimonies of unspeakable acts, the careful, deliberate arguments of the prosecution, and the stark finality of the verdicts. It is a room where history was not just witnessed but actively shaped, its wooden benches and tables still holding the echoes of a global reckoning. The world often assumes the trials were held in Nuremberg for purely symbolic reasons to dismantle the Nazi regime in the very city where it had held its most spectacular propaganda rallies to bring an end to the story in the place where it began. The symbolism was undeniably powerful. It was a declaration that the rule of law would triumph over the rule of terror, right here in its ceremonial heartland. But the truth, as is often the case, is also grounded in stark practicality. By 1945, Germany was a nation in ruins. Most of its major cities had been flattened by relentless Allied bombing campaigns. Finding a large, intact building capable of housing a trial of this magnitude with space for judges, lawyers, translators, journalists, and the accused was a logistical nightmare. The Palace of Justice in Nuremberg was a rare exception. It was one of the few large government complexes in Germany that had survived the war almost completely unscathed. Crucially, it also had a large, secure prison complex attached to it, connected by a covered walkway. This allowed the defendants to be housed and transported to the courtroom securely and efficiently, without having to navigate the rubble-strewn streets of the ruined city. The choice of Nuremberg was, therefore, a marriage of profound symbolism and blunt, pragmatic necessity. And so we are left with a city that holds the weight of so much history within its walls, a place that has been a vessel for both the highest expressions of human creativity and the heaviest, most somber judgments. It is a city that teaches us that places, like people, are complex, capable of containing multitudes. It has been a home to emperors and artists, to toymakers and tyrants, to prosecutors and prisoners. How does a single city bear such a burden? How do the cobblestones that once echoed with the footsteps of merchants and pilgrims also carry the memory of marching soldiers and the silent procession of the accused? Perhaps the answer lies in the quiet passage of time. As the sun sets, casting a golden glow on the restored rooftops and the tranquil flow of the Pegnitz River, a sense of peace settles over Nuremberg. The ghosts of its past do not vanish, but they learn to coexist with the present. The city breathes. In the quiet of a winter evening, as lights begin to twinkle in the windows of the old town and the first snowflakes start to fall, Nuremberg sleeps not under a blanket of dust and ashes, but under a soft, forgiving blanket of snow.